Hi, ladies. So I wanted to start this series because oftentimes we are hyper focused on the negative and we are not equally pedestaling the positive. And so I wanted to do something on men or male archetypes. And specifically, I wanted to talk about The Godfather. This is one of my favorite movies of like all time. I love all the characters. Everybody plays an integral role, and they're so intricate and so necessary. But Robert De Niro is so fine in that movie. Jesus Christ, that man is fine. But I wanted to talk about the men specifically, but I'm going to dial it back. So this is going to be probably a three-part series because I want this to be digestible quickly. So what initially had me writing this down was seeing the movie a gajillion times. I have it on DVD and I watch it randomly whenever. And so it had me thinking about the four boys, if you will. So we have the father, which is Don Vito. We have the oldest son, which is Sonny. We have the middle son, second oldest, which is Fredo. And then we have the baby boy, which is Micheal. But the sister, I forget, she's older than Micheal, but we're just talking about the men. And so my initial thought was loyalty and what is required, because there are several different scenes that speak on loyalty and what men perceive loyalty to be versus what the women perceive loyalty to be. A lot of the men were requiring blind loyalty, but the women were requiring faith conversation, right? Tell me the truth. Allow me to make the best decision based on all the facts. So a lot of the women were robbed of their autonomy and their ability to choose, except for one, which is Don Vito's wife, the mother. And so what were some of the tenets that I thought about when I said loyalty requires fill in the blank, right? So loyalty requires a silent agreement, right? And that silent agreement could be a myriad of things, right? But just a silent agreement. We'll come back to that. Loyalty requires vision and a shared outcome. So if we talk about the Siglieri, Don Vito's right-hand man, who he speaks to, who Don Vito adopt as a kid, sends him to college to be a lawyer so that he could be a right-hand man for the family, right? I think his name was John Higgins. And so John, who's the consigliere or the confidant for the Don, has agreed to this silent agreement. I will be there for you because you were there for me. So that level of loyalty is cyclical. So we're talking about the different standards of loyalty. So this one is cyclical, a mutual respect, devoid of ego. Don Vito didn't have the ego. The original Don didn't have no ego, right? And so this is why Higgins can remain loyal to the Don and actually kiss the ring because of the silent agreement, shared outcome, mutual respect that is devoid of evil, devoid of ego, right? And so why this works is because subject A, in this case, will be Don Vito. Sorry, I got a message. Subject A is Don Vito, and he is loyal to the standard. We'll go to the standard of what that loyalty is later on. So subject A, Don Vito, is loyal to the standard. Subject B, who is, in this case, Higgins, is loyal to the one who is loyal to the standard. So Higgins' loyalty is to the sturdiness and consistency of his Don, right? There is a automatic, I know you, and I know you're gonna do stuff by the board, measure twice, cut once type of thing, right? I can rely on that. Remember, Higgins was adopted by Vito as a child. He was like a vagabond in the street, and this Don brings him into this lifestyle, right? Treats him like a son. Higgins is Irish, And so he learns, Italian, Castilian, whatever they're speaking, because he's raised under the tutelage of this Italian family. Now, he can't ever be like a Don or something like higher than a consigliere because he's not of Sicilian blood. And so subject B is still devoted to subject A because subject A holds the standard. And so that's the cyclical loyalty between those two, right? But then we go into what a majority of the movie is about, and that is blind loyalty, right? And so this is something that maybe a Fredo, which is the middle child, who when Don Vito is shot in the street, Fredo was like crying. You know, he didn't call the police. He was just distraught. So he already set the standard for the fight or flight, and he decided to flight. His blind loyalty is keeping him from seeing the tenets of the shared vision or the shared outcome. Later in the movie, Fredo really backstabs his baby brother to try to get some shine or some street cred because he felt stepped over, because Don Vito in his last days gave the baton to Micheal. Micheal wasn't supposed to be the next Don, though. We'll get back to that. So the blind loyalty requires a willful ignorance. You cannot think for yourself. Independent thinking is a no-no, right? That's why they are like the first in the row of pawns, or soldier mentality, if you will. They lack moral compass capabilities, right? Their morale is all over the place with blind loyalty. They have none. And that is also a requirement, right? And so the idealization of subject A is a requirement of this blind loyalty, right? Subject A is tactical and aware and understands the gift of image magic. So subject A knows that they have to pretend like they have it so that they can get the blind loyalty. Sometimes they're ruthless, abusive, those things to get the blind loyalty. I want you to remember that respect is something that is given. When people say, would you want somebody to fear you or respect you? I would want somebody to respect me, because somebody that fears you might kill you, okay? Somebody that respects you is going to harm the person that's trying to harm you, right? I don't ever want anybody to fear me, because a scary person is a harmful person. But in any case, subject A is aware of their powers. They're aware of their manipulation tactics or capabilities, right? They're also aware that this is scapegoat energy that subject B has. Subject B will always be left holding the bag, and they're hyper aware of that. Remember, subject B has already accepted their fate because they have no backbone. They go along with the ride, and they usually are the ones left holding the bag. Right? That is what blind loyalty gets you. So people that are under that blind loyalty moniker are referred to as lackeys, goofs, stooges, right? These are the people that are so dumb to do the thing that a sane person wouldn't do, right? These are the people who, may wind up not having the money or losing their lives for a heist, right? And so when we start to talk about what the 4 male archetypes are, this loyalty versus blind loyalty shows up repeatedly in this movie. And so that's all I have for now. I have so much more, and we'll talk about it in just a little while. And so once again, until we meet again, ladies, peace. Bye.